Hello everyone, welcome to Talking Health with Dr. Laz, your favorite health program on television. As usual, we're reaching you from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. My name is Dr. Laz Eze. April 24 to 30 every year is usually commemorated as the World Immunization Week. And this year, it was also marked not just in Nigeria, but the rest of Africa and around the world, especially as the campaign and issues around COVID-19 vaccination is really very topical. But the World Immunization Week is not just about any specific vaccine. It's about anything immunization and how we can have better access to vaccines as a commodity, and also how the immunization process will go on smoothly. So on the program today, I'll be having a couple of guests, and we're also going to be hearing from some Nigerians on the streets of Abuja. But I would like you to know that vaccine production is something that is of great concern in Africa. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, there are fewer than 10 companies that are producing vaccines in the African continent. And they are just in 5 countries. Some are in South Africa, Senegal, in West Africa, and 3 in North African countries, specifically Morocco, Egypt, and Tunisia. Right now, vaccine procurement for African countries is usually done by UNICEF with support from Gavi Vaccine Alliance. So over 1.5 billion doses of vaccines is being procured every year, and there are just about or less than 10 countries that have the capacity to even procure up to what they need. I wouldn't take you so much into that because I have experts that will speak to these issues. We are going to take a very short break, and when we return, I'll be introducing my guests. One is a vaccine, or I could call her a vaccine expert. She will be joining us from Baltimore in the United States, Dr. Chizoba Wonodi. And we're also going to be, she's joining us via Zoom. And we're also going to speak with a former lawmaker who is a health advocate on his thoughts around local vaccine production. Let's take this breather and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Talking Health with Dr. Laz, your favorite health program on television. So like I mentioned before we took the breather, I have an expert. She's a medical doctor, and she's also a doctor of public health with many years working around vaccines and immunization. Dr. Chizoba Wonodi, the Nigeria Country Director of the International Vaccine Access Center of the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health in Baltimore in the United States. She's joining us via Zoom. She's also the convener of Women Advocates for Vaccine Access and a member of the Gavi CSO group. I hope I get that correctly. You're welcome to the program, Dr. Chizoba Wonodi.
Thank you very much, Dr. Laz. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Thank you. And I must say that she's my boss in the immunization space. She was the one that got me involved in the immunization work some years ago. Dr. Wonodi, this period is very interesting with the pandemic the world has been trying to control over the last 1 year, and we are very lucky that through the work that many experts like you do, we now have vaccines. But I would like a general conversation around vaccines. What are vaccines and how are they developed?
Thanks, Laz. That's a really good question, and I'm sure because of COVID and all the attention that it's garnered, since last year, more people than ever before are attuned to vaccines and perhaps even know more about vaccines than before. So before we can do good justice to the question, I think let me just set the stage by describing what happens when someone gets infected and how the vaccines are designed to work. And that explains what a vaccine is. So first of all, we know that there are germs all around, viruses, bacteria, fungus that cause disease. And when those germs or pathogens, when they enter the body has a mechanism to fight those germs to prevent people from getting sick or from dying from the disease. And so when let's use a virus, when a virus enters the body, and it's a new virus that the body has never seen before, the body recognizes it as an antigen, and then the immune system produces what you call an antibody to attach to the virus or to the antigen, and then takes it into the general immune system and destroys it so that it doesn't cause disease. So what a vaccine does is to mimic or to imitate an antigen or a virus or a bacteria that could cause disease, right? Yeah. So when a vaccine is produced, it's usually produced against a specific antigen, be it a specific virus like the COVID virus or the measles virus. And so a vaccine is a substance that contains a weakened pathogen that elicits immune response, that triggers the body to produce an immune response, or soldiers inside the blood that fight that particular pathogen. So that's what a vaccine is.
Yeah, so how are they developed?
There are multiple ways to develop a vaccine, right? So the key thing is, how do you make that virus or that bacteria weak in order for it to serve as a vaccine? So there are multiple ways to do that. And with this COVID pandemic, we've seen a number of even innovations in that. One way to do that is, first of all, to weaken a pathogen. Scientists can apply, chemicals that will kind of denature the virus, right, or the proteins. And then what happens is that it then forms like a great antigen that can be used for the vaccine. So it can be weakened. You can inactivate a virus. So, for example, vaccines like measles vaccine use an inactivated virus, for production.
You're right.
Another way you can produce a vaccine is by using part of the virus. For example, the human papilloma virus is a piece of the virus that's used. Even the PCV, that's the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, uses a part of the pneumococcal bacteria. Another way you can do it, which has
sorry, let me call you because of time. I know if I leave you, you can spend the next 30 minutes discussing this process, but it usually goes through various stages of clinical trials to confirm whether it's safe for use. So can you quickly speak to that, ma'am?
Okay. Yes, of course, if you leave me, I'm going to really go too fast. So the journey of making a vaccine takes several stages. So the stages I was talking about is how you come up with the vaccine itself. When you come up with a vaccine candidate, you have to test it. And there are different phases of testing the virus before it's used in the population. The first phase is preclinical. So this is before you give it to human beings. You test it out in the lab, or you test it out in animal models. And what you're testing there is to make sure that it works. It works in eliciting an immune response. When you find that this candidate works in eliciting a immune response, you now test it in phase 1 trials. In phase 1 trial, so this is now clinical, you are getting 20 to 100 volunteers.
All right.
And
these are human beings, right?
These are human beings, yes. So you're testing to see, does it work in human beings, and is it safe, right? And then I think the main focus of phase 1 is the dose. Does it work, and what is the dose for the vaccine? Then you move on to phase 2. Phase 2, you have maybe 200 volunteers or 300 volunteers. Here, what you're testing is side effects and That is checking to see if it's safe. And then you also want to look at the immune response in a larger number of people.
Right.
Then phase 3 trials, you have hundreds of thousands of volunteers. And here you are testing for efficacy. You are testing to see how effective the vaccine is in different types of people, in older people, in younger people, thereabout. So it usually takes a set of prescribed steps for a vaccine to be tested before used in the population.
Right, Dr. Wonodi, we'll be taking a break in not too long, but before we do that, what is the usual duration? How long does it take for all these processes to be concluded?
Previously, it took maybe, I would say about 10 years, right? Or it could be less. So that's the typical time it takes to come up with a vaccine. But we are learning new things every day. Technology is improving, innovation is growing. So now it took the COVID vaccine less than a year to be developed. And I'm sure you have a question on that.
Yes, so many persons have a question on that. They were like, it usually takes so many years. So what's so special about COVID-19 vaccine that it came up within a very short while? So could you quickly speak to that in a few seconds, ma?
Okay, I'll just mention
because I would like you to listen to some Vox Pop. We're on the streets earlier in the day, and some persons talked about COVID-19 vaccine. So I would like you to listen to that.
Okay, 3 major things. Existing research. We built on existing research. Right. New technology, new genomic technology that we built on. Massive mobilization of funds by pharmaceutical companies, governments, and for example, the US gave Pfizer $1.9 billion to help develop the vaccine. Unprecedented amount of collaborations among scientists across the world, right? Okay. Scientists, and then collaboration between vaccine developers and manufacturing, and then parallel manufacturing processes. So while the vaccine while the vaccine was found to be safe, right, before the trials concluded, there was manufacturing at risk, so that if it was found to be effective, then by the time the trials are done, the vaccine we're ready to be rolled out. Shipped.
Okay, yeah. So I'll play what we got from the streets of Abuja, what Nigerians think about the reigning vaccine in town, the COVID-19 vaccines. Please listen and we'll get your response shortly. What do you think about the COVID-19 vaccines?
I think if there is a need that we will take it, we can take it. And I believe that it will help Nigeria.
Have you taken?
No, I never take it yet.
Okay, if you have the opportunity to take, will you take it?
Yes.
Have you taken the COVID-19 vaccine?
Yes.
Okay, where did you take it?
In Kano.
In Kano?
Yes.
So did you have any side effects when you took it? You get as body do you when you took it?
I'm not too...
You're okay since you took it?
Yes, I'm okay.
Have you taken the COVID-19 vaccine?
No, sir.
Why?
Well, the place I'm living, I didn't even know whether government know we are there, because I never see them in our village for once. If not be here, I came to work today that we meet here now. I never see any of all those people about COVID-19 issue from my area.
Okay, if they bring them to your area, what's the name of that area?
Waru.
Waru?
Under Apo.
Okay, it's under Apo. So if they bring the vaccines to Waru, are you going to take it?
So if they bring the vaccine, they should come with that palliative that we didn't take that last year.
So if they don't come with the palliative, you will not take the vaccine?
No.
You heard those responses on the street, but I'll allow you to respond to it after this short break. And we're also going to get the perspectives of the Chairman National Advocates for Health on local vaccine production in Nigeria. Do stay with us. We'll be right back shortly. Welcome back to Talking Health with DrLaz, your favorite health program on television. Yes, before the break, you listened to the views of 3 Nigerians we talked to earlier today on the street on what they think about COVID-19 vaccine. So, Dr. Wonodi, I would like you to quickly respond to what you heard from those Nigerians.
Okay, so Dr. Laz, what you showed with those, with your Vox Pop is really the range of opinions about the COVID vaccine. There are a vast majority of people will take it when they get it. Some people, it's not yet time for them to get it. So, you know, when their time comes, they will take it. And then there are a few people, they are the minority, even though we are still concerned about that. There are a few people who are hesitant about taking the vaccine, either for several reasons. A study we just concluded has shown that we're looking at around 10% hesitancy or refusal rate. But your last Vox Pop speaker talked about not taking it because the government has not touched their lives where they live and the palliatives passed over them.
And by palliative, he meant food.
He meant food, you're right.
Yes.
So, I mean, I can understand their concern because a citizen needs to feel the presence of the government, but you have to take control of your own health. You have to take responsibility for your own health, right?
Thank you for that. I'm going to come back to you to close the program, but I want to go now to hear the perspective of the Honorable Muhammad Usman. He was Vice Chairman, House of Representatives Committee on Healthcare Services between 2015 and 2019. He's also the Chairman, National Advocate for Health, and the founder of Lafia Wealth Initiative. I talked to him earlier on his perspective based on some work they did over the past few years on local vaccine production in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Laz. I'm glad that you are having me finally on your program. Meeting with, discussing with Dr. Laz.
Yes, it's my pleasure talking health with you. Okay. Sir, while you were in the House of Representatives, local vaccine production was, a topical issue, and I'm aware of the Nigerian Immunization Financing Tax Team, NIFT, where you participated actively in these activities, had a subcommittee on local production of vaccines that works very closely with you. So kindly describe what happened during that time and why we didn't make much progress before COVID-19 came and changed the situation.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. And let me say that, because I need to give a bit of background, history. During my time as the Vice Chair of the Committee on Healthcare, Services, then the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, in conjunction with some health professionals, and I recall in particular the late Dr. Benjamin Anyene was the person, leading, this team. I was invited to join the National Immunization Financing, tax team as the Vice Chair of that committee. The chairman then, Honorable Chike Okafo, recommended I should represent the committee on that major platform. I agreed. And it was a very good experience that I had. And there, I recall in 2015, there was an international roundtable in Nigeria, precisely on 15th December 2015, during which about 150 participants from both within and outside Nigeria were invited to discuss, to share experience, to give recommendations on issue of local vaccine production in Nigeria. And that really strengthened the resolve of the committee to make the committee as formidable as possible, getting all the critical stakeholders, required so that this issue could be pursued. And let me also say that part of the research then shows the number of children who are dying on almost on a daily basis as a result of these vaccine preventable, diseases. And given the population of Nigeria, even then as about 190, now almost about 200 million, we require to produce our own vaccine.
I knew you were pushing for a bill on local vaccine production. Could you share what happened?
Yes,
Okay.
for that of local vaccine, production, we were yet to draft the bill, but then we were, if you recall, we were trying, to come up with a business plan, a strategic, plan. Certain amount of money was really required by the National Immunization Tax Team, as well as a consulting firm that was engaged, to work on this, to develop this business document on local vaccine production. And then, simply then, because of the sum of 30 million naira, the bureaucratic bottlenecks within the government did not permit release of that money. So because of that, I think that really discouraged the consultant from continuing with the work on the policy.
The good news now is COVID-19 came last year and made it more imperative on the need for Nigeria to have local production of not just vaccines but other drugs and other commodities that are being used in the health sector. And according to media reports earlier this year, the federal government released 10 billion naira to support local vaccine production. And you may recall that I think November 2020, the Federal Ministry of Health signed a memorandum of understanding with BioVaccine Nigeria Limited, giving rise to a joint venture between the federal government and May and Baker Limited for production of locally made vaccines. I recall that in 2017 July, there was also a joint venture agreement signed by the Federal Ministry of Health with May and Baker, where the Federal Ministry of Health, we have 49% and May and Baker 51%. What do you think should be the next step?
Well, first let me say, maybe commend the government for finally also, voted this large sum of money, 10 billion, for this local vaccine, production, process, to commence. Let me also say that Nigeria has the capacity to produce its vaccine for its population. This was done, history shows that in 1940, we had a vaccine that was produced and was even exported outside Nigeria. In the 1970s, we had that of yellow fever. I think that of 1940 was smallpox or whatever, really, yes. I can't remember. So that means Nigeria had the capacity as far back as that time. Not to talk of now when you have more educated people who are well versed in the area of sciences, in the area of health, and so many things you need to be able, to do this. So what the government has done is really very good. But now it must be sustained, it must be pushed to its logical, conclusion. The partners, that's May and Baker that has, yes, come in now, that has signed the MOU, as well as the other, should be encouraged. And money, this money shouldn't just be on paper. It should be released.
Yes, the money should not be on paper, it should be released. We discussed a lot of things with Honorable Usman. I wish there is time to take all of that, but of course, I'm sure in the course of subsequent bulletins, we'll deep dive more on issues around local vaccine production. We are really out of time, Dr. Wonodi, who joined us from Baltimore in the United States. Can you say just one or two sentences on what you think around local vaccine production in Africa?
I think we have a great opportunity to really build the capacity for local vaccine production, particularly with all the advocacy around, expanding production of the COVID vaccine. So there is a move to put in place temporary waivers, right, for intellectual properties, so that the COVID vaccine technology can be transferred.
Okay.
So Nigeria should actually step up and try to take advantage of that opportunity. I understand that the mRNA vaccine might be easier technology to transfer because of just the way it's set up. So there is an opportunity right now that we need to take advantage of.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Chizoba Wonodi. I think you are the first to be on the program from the United States. It's a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Laz.
Yes, and I also thank Honorable Muhammad Usman, Chairman, National Advocates for Health. He was also a former Vice Chairman of House of Reps Committee on Healthcare Services. I really thank you for joining us on the program today. My name is Dr. Laz Eze. Please stay with us on this station and also join us next week, same time, same station on the program. Bye for now.